Shalom everyone! Today we're going to talk about multiple events from the region, such as the operation in Gaza, what's really going on, the Qatar strike targets have surfaced, potential peace with Syria, and of course General Zini. 4 GSS heads are opposed to Zini's appointment. 1 is in favor. Should we care? Israel strikes in Yemen. What is their end goal? So, let's get started. Gaza. I don't want to give you false or uncorroborated information, but it's currently pretty hard to get solid info. So, here's what I have for you today. Finally, after weeks of buildup, the ground operation in Gaza City, as well as in some of the refugee camps in the central of the Gaza Strip, like Nuseirat, has started in earnest. Tanks are rolling through buildings, dozens per day are being destroyed, since of course they're being used by Hamas. Now, Israel's stated objective for the Gaza City operation, which is distinct from the overall war goals, is to 1. Destroy or dismantle Hamas's military infrastructure inside Gaza City, including tunnels, command centers, observation posts, and intelligence installations. Seize control of Gaza City, or at least central parts of it, so that Hamas's stronghold there is broken. Force or facilitate the evacuation of civilians from areas of operation to reduce civilian harm, so operations can proceed in these densely populated urban zones. And of course, open evacuation routes and corridors to allow civilians to leave Gaza City safely for designated zones in the south. The destruction of high-rise buildings used by Hamas is meant to degrade its ability to coordinate and to observe and to attack Israeli movements. As of yesterday, the reports are that 400,000 Gazans have left Gaza City for the humanitarian shelter zones. So that's about half the population. In other words, we're about halfway there. So then, the question is, what is the plan? As far as I understand, the plan is to demolish Gaza City, similar to Rafiah and Khan Yunis, to destroy Hamas's power base and ability to govern, be it with armed forces, control of the food supply, control of finances, and so on. As time goes by, more and more local tribes and militias are popping up to fight Hamas, as they feel that Israel is finally determined to finish Hamas and its forces in Gaza this time. Let's hope that this is true. Let's move on to Qatar. 2 of the primary targets of the strike recently went on air with Al Jazeera, proving that they are alive as well. Ghazi Hamad, a member of the political bureau, appeared yesterday and confirmed that they were in fact in the building that was bombed. He said they were in a meeting with the negotiation team and some advisors, and about an hour into the meeting, we heard giant explosions. We immediately left because we knew it was an Israeli strike. We survived despite the devastating strike. At least 12 missiles landed in less than a minute. Tahir al-Nunu, an advisor to the political bureau, also appeared on Sunday the 14th. Now, as we spoke, Qatar had a recent pan-Arabic, pan-Muslim meeting, but nothing much came out of it. A few statements here and there, but nothing concrete, except for the surprising Egyptian hostility. But we'll get into that next video. Now, there was very interesting comments from the Lebanese president, Joseph Aoun, who declared that he wants peace with Israel. And I quote, "We are here to say to the entire world that we are ready for peace with Israel." Moving on to Syria. A few months ago, there was a lot of chatter and talk about a potential peace treaty and normalization with Israel after al-Jolani's HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams, took down Assad and took over Syria. Since then, Israel has struck extensively in Syria, for many good reasons. For example, to defend our Druze allies from being starved and slaughtered, or to destroy the stocks of chemical weapons so they don't fall into jihadist hands, including, of course, the government, which is a jihadist organization. Destroying warplanes and airfields and docks and weapon factories and so on, as well as Turkish listening posts and anti-air defense systems. Consequently, the hopes and dreams for peace with Syria have been dashed. But fear not. Recent reports just in the last few days, directly from the dictator of Syria himself and his foreign minister, are that while normalization and peace are off the table for now, a security arrangement is close to being reached, and it is needed to preserve the integrity of the Syrian country. And once such an agreement is reached, that it could lead to other treaties. There are efforts by President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio to arrange relevant meetings around the UN summit planned for next week to reach such a security agreements. From the Israeli side, it seems that as long as the area south of Damascus is demilitarized and Israel controls the Hermon mountain peak, we are satisfied with occasional incursions to destroy advanced weapons or kill terrorists who are on their way to harm Israel. Anyways, we will see where and how this develops. On a side note regarding Syria, Turkey is very frustrated with its lack of influence in Syria and Israel's freedom to operate. And consequently, it recently released a bank of targets in Israel, including infrastructure, government, and military targets. One might be slightly concerned that a member of NATO and an ally of ours does this. But for years now, most of Turkey's frustration, which primarily comes from their president-dictator Erdogan, that's been in power for over 22 years, most of his frustration has been a lot of talk and bluster, while in the meantime maintaining high trade and other relations with Israel. All right, moving on. Today, the Grunis Committee, led by former High Court Judge Grunis, is meeting to decide if General David Zini is corrupt or not. The committee invited Netanyahu, Zini, and former GSS head Ronen Bar, and the current temporary head of the service, which is odd, considering General Zini has served for 33 years in the IDF, and none of the people invited, except of course Zini himself, would have any pertinent information regarding whether he is corrupt or not, regarding his character. And nevertheless, the recently fired district attorney Gili Barhav Miara, in a surprise notification, said that unless new information surfaces, which wouldn't surprise me in the least if it happened, there is no reason for General Zini not to be appointed. Which is kind of odd, considering just 2 months ago, the same Gili Barhav Miara stated in court that it is highly unlikely that he is able to be appointed, that he himself, General Zini, should not be appointed. But now, 2 months later, suddenly, she's all in favor? Seems pretty odd. We'll wait and see how that develops. Now, former General Security Service heads penned a letter to the Grunis Committee saying that they are strongly opposed for General Zini to be appointed as the GSS head. It's worth also noting that over 10,000 spam emails were sent in to the committee, basically penned by people on the left, people opposed to Benjamin Netanyahu, because Zini is not one of them. He wears a kippah. He's a bit religious, and they don't like that. Anyways, back to the GSS heads. The four that are opposed to his nomination are Nadav Argaman, Ami Ayalon, Yoram Cohen, and Karmi Gilon. Now, I'm not planning to stand here and attack these four men who served Israel for decades, but just two of them, things popped into my mind about. For example, Nadav Argaman has been protesting against Bibi for the past few years as a leader of the left-wing protests. And even he went so far as to threaten Bibi Netanyahu on live television that he will reveal classified, privileged secrets in order to harm him. Carmi Gilon, who resigned in shame after Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated due to the obvious failure of the GSS under his leadership, and that's not even going into the conspiracy theories about the GSS being involved, which, to be fair, I don't think they were. But in any case, my point is, I'm not sure under what capacity these four gentlemen are weighing in on whether Zini is corrupt or not. And considering he served Israel just as much as they have, where do they come from with their opinion? That said, a fifth former GSS head, Avi Dichter, who is a member of the Likud party, released a short statement directed to General Zini, saying, and I quote, "General David Zini, stand proud and march on to this new role with your head held high, but also with awe and trepidation, as the expectation of the government and the nation are very high. Do not be afraid, because God is with you. And as for the four former chiefs," he is referring to this penned letter, "when with God's help you are nominated, invite them to a chat and hear from them advice on how to succeed as head of the General Security Service. They will help you learn from the good things they did as well as from the mistakes they made. And believe me, they have much to enrich you in both regards." Moving on to Yemen. A couple of days ago, Israel struck in the port city of Hodeidah. And one might ask, what is the purpose of these strikes every few weeks, every month, on the ports and on the airfields and on the infrastructure of the Houthis? Now, I would like to hazard a guess, an apparent answer. This is just my take on it. This isn't confirmed. And it is an air and sea embargo on the Houthis to keep putting those targets out of commission for a few weeks, for a month at a time, since the Houthis' land is besieged by the recognized Yemeni government forces, and Israel is causing this siege or embargo on the air and sea. We're basically assisting in a complete siege of the Houthi forces. Now, I also saw in a recent report that the British Army is moving land forces into Yemen for the purpose of training the Yemeni army. It will be interesting to see how these efforts, along with the siege, lead to a change in the future. I've talked in the past about the official legal Yemeni government trying to restart the war that they had with the backing of the UAE and Saudi Arabia to retake Yemen from the Houthis. Well, we'll have to see where that goes. Anyways, that's it for now. I'm hoping that next video we can talk about Egypt's hostility towards Israel and about another new genocide report about Israel, which came out, which is of course false, and it's easy to prove. But we'll talk about that later in the next video, assuming current events allow us. As always, we try to keep up with current events together here. And as always, if you like this, share it with your friends. Click like, click the bell to get notifications. Comment on anything that you'd like me to talk about. And God bless you all. Shalom from Jerusalem.